Canned sardines are having a massive moment as a nutritional miracle, but unsealing that tin might mean dosing yourself with industrial waste. While influencers praise their omega-3s and sustainability, our investigation reveals a dark billion-dollar reality. Cheap imports are flooding American shelves as established giants cut corners, leaving you playing Russian roulette with your health. We're stripping the labels off 8 brands you must avoid, not based on opinion, but on documented testing of neurotoxic solvents, hormone-disrupting BPA, and mercury levels flirting with danger limits. The system is failing, country of origin loopholes are wide open, and what's inside rarely matches the label. Stick around because brand number 8 is a household name sold at major retailers, yet it contains the highest mercury levels we've ever uncovered. Your body shouldn't be a dumping ground for corporate cost-cutting. Before we unmask the first offender in your pantry, drop a comment below and tell me which brand of sardines have you been trusting for your healthy lunches? And have you ever noticed a strange metallic aftertaste after eating them? Don't take another bite until you see these facts. Let's get started. Our investigation begins with the first brand, a name found in virtually every American supermarket seasoned brand. You've likely walked past their bright packaging 1,000 times, thinking it's a reliable choice. But here is the betrayal: seasoned brand sources from multiple countries with vastly different quality standards and frequently refuses to disclose exactly where your specific tin originated. This lack of transparency hides a heavy metal hazard. Testing has flagged elevated levels of cadmium in their products. This isn't just a contaminant, it's a toxic metal that stays in your body, accumulating in your kidneys and bones for decades. While the European Union enforces strict limits on cadmium, the United States has 0 federal regulations for it in fish. Beyond the chemicals, look at the wild-caught claim on their label. It's a marketing trick designed to make you pay more for the bare minimum, as nearly all sardines are wild-caught. Former seafood inspectors report that Season often accepts reject batches fish with excessive scales bruising or discoloration that premium brands refuse to touch. The oil they use is often low-grade soybean oil refined with harsh chemicals. Go to your pantry and look at the fish. If you see mangled flesh and thick excessive scales, you're eating the lowest grade of seafood that passed minimal safety checks. Why settle for the bottom of the barrel when your health is on the line? But if you think a bigger name means more safety, the next brand proves that brand recognition is often a mask for industrial runoff. Moving to the second brand on our list, we find Chicken of the Sea. They are a titan in the seafood world, yet their sardines carry the same troubling baggage as their controversial tuna products. They source primarily from Moroccan coastal waters areas that environmental studies show are heavily impacted by industrial runoff from textile factories, mining operations, and agricultural zones using high-potency pesticides. Laboratory tests have detected both mercury and lead in their samples, and there is no established safe level of lead exposure. Even microscopic amounts are linked to neurological damage and developmental delays in children. Chicken of the Sea also uses nutrition labels that are a masterclass in deception. They calculate serving sizes, assuming you'll only eat a fraction of the can, yet most people finish the whole thing, effectively tripling their toxic intake. Furthermore, they add artificial smoke flavor, created through chemical processes instead of actually smoking the fish over wood. Worst of all, former employees report that the fish are overcooked at extreme temperatures for longer than necessary to extend shelf life. This industrial overprocessing degrades the fragile omega-3 fatty acids, the very reason you bought the fish in the first place. Have you ever noticed a strange chemical aftertaste or lingering metallic smell in your sardines? That is the smell of a system prioritizing shelf stability over your biology. But legacy doesn't mean safety, as seen in our third entry. The third name we must address is a brand with over a century of history, Brunswick. Longevity is not a proxy for quality. Brunswick sources from Canadian waters, which sounds clean, until you realize they use smaller, oilier fish that act like sponges for environmental toxins. Testing has found detectable levels of dioxins in Brunswick samples, carcinogenic compounds that accumulate in fatty tissues. Because these fish are oilier, the concentration of dioxins is naturally higher. Furthermore, Brunswick sources from Atlantic waters where industrial overfishing has depleted stocks. Overfished populations often contain older fish that have spent more time accumulating mercury. But the danger isn't just the fish, it's the can. While the industry is moving toward BPA-free linings, Brunswick still uses tin-plated steel cans lined with bisphenol A, an endocrine disruptor, linked to obesity and reproductive issues. To mask the flavor of lower-quality fish, they even add high-fructose corn syrup to their mustard varieties. Take a second to think about that sugar in your sardines. Quality fish doesn't need a sugar coat to taste good. Check the ingredients list if sugar is in the top 3, or if the can doesn't explicitly state BPA-free, put it back. We are seeing a pattern here, and it gets even grittier with the 4th brand, which shares a dark legal history. Crossing into our 4th offender, we find Beechcliff, a budget brand owned by Bumblebee, the same company that faced criminal prosecution for price fixing. Beechcliff is where transparency goes to die. The actual fish origin is intentionally vague on the label. They pack their fish in soybean oil that industry sources suggest is extracted using hexane, a neurotoxic solvent. The FDA allows residual hexane without requiring testing or disclosure. Furthermore, this soybean oil is almost certainly genetically modified and heavily processed, potentially containing trans fats that counteract the benefits of the sardines. When you open a can of Beechcliff, you are getting less edible meat for your dollar. They use smaller fish, which results in a much lower meat-to-bone ratio. Testing has found that these tins contain more bones and scales than premium brands, suggesting the fish were never properly cleaned before canning. Former cannery workers describe Beechcliff cans as being made from thinner-gauge steel, increasing the risk of seal failure leaks and spoilage during storage. Run your finger along the seal of the can. If it feels flimsy or sharp, it's a manufacturing shortcut. You think you're saving money, but you're actually buying industrial byproducts. This leads us to the 5th giant that many consumers trust because of its American marketing. The 5th brand in our investigation is StarKist. They position themselves as a premium American choice, but the quality simply doesn't match the price. StarKist is actually owned by a Korean conglomerate that former employees say has prioritized profit over the brand's original quality standards since the acquisition. They source from the Baltic and Mediterranean waters notoriously polluted with persistent organic chemicals called PCBs, which are linked to cancer. While they boast about using olive oil, testing reveals it is often a blend of olive oil and lower-grade oils like pumice oil. The sardines in StarKist cans are often broken and damaged, indicating rough handling during processing. You are paying premium prices for damaged fish that other brands would reject. To hide the lack of flavor in this lower-quality seafood, StarKist loads their cans with sodium, sometimes over 400 milligrams per serving. Pour the oil onto a white plate. If it looks murky or has dark sediment, you're looking at low-grade blending and poor quality control. Why pay premium prices for salt and damaged fish? This brings us to a brand that has faced more legal battles and documentation inconsistencies than almost any other. Following this, we reach our 6th brand, Bumblebee. They market sustainability, but third-party audits have found gaping inconsistencies in their supply chain documentation. Independent testing has caught Bumblebee sardines with mercury levels that exceed what is safe for regular consumption by pregnant women and children. This is a brand where executives actually went to prison for price fixing. If they're willing to cheat the law on pricing, why would you trust their internal mercury testing? Bumblebee has also faced legal disputes over species substitution, putting a completely different species of fish in a can labeled as a specific sardine. Furthermore, their water-packed varieties often contain significant water weight, meaning you're paying sardine prices for saltwater. Despite the higher price tag, testing shows their omega-3 content is no better than the cheapest discount brands. You are paying for marketing, not nutrition. Stop paying the marketing tax for fish that fails basic purity and documentation tests. But what about the brands we associate with healthy grocery stores? That takes us to number 7. Our 7th brand is Trader Joe's. They've cultivated a healthy image, but Trader Joe's doesn't actually make their own sardines. They use contract manufacturing, meaning they buy from whichever producer offers the lowest bid. This creates massive quality inconsistency because the supplier changes constantly. Some batches have been traced to producers in Morocco and China with questionable food safety standards and frequent heavy metal contamination. Lab testing has also found that the olive oil used in Trader Joe's sardines often fails to meet extra virgin standards. Trader Joe's sardines also tend to have higher levels of histamine, which forms when fish is not processed quickly enough after being caught. High histamine can cause flushing headaches and digestive distress. Their skinless and boneless varieties are the worst option of all. The extra handling and high temperatures required to remove the skin strip away the calcium and degrade the omega-3s. Have you noticed that one TJ's can taste great, but the next one smells overly fishy or tastes like metal? That is the result of switching suppliers to save a few pennies. It's a gamble every time you pull a can from their shelf. Finally, we reach the eighth and most concerning option, great value from Walmart. This represents the absolute floor of the industry. Testing data shows these cans have mercury levels that approach or even exceed the strict limits set by the European Union standards, far more rigorous than what the US allows. They appear to use the smallest and oldest fish available from suppliers. Research suggests older fish have had more years to concentrate pollutants in their tissues. Former industry workers suggest that great value sources from the most polluted coastal industrial zones in developing countries, where environmental enforcement is non-existent. These batches often contain more internal organ scales and bones than any other brand tested, indicating minimal quality control at the cannery. The oil is the cheapest soybean oil on the commodity market, likely extracted with hexane. Even the cans are a risk, using the thinnest gauge steel and unreliable seaming techniques that increase the risk of seal failure and spoilage. Check the bottom of the tin if the metal feels thin, and the fish are packed with organs and scales. You're eating the rejects of the global seafood market. We've seen the evidence the superfood in your pantry might be a vessel for lead, mercury, and dioxins. The systemic twist here is that the problem isn't the fish. It's a global supply chain that treats health as a secondary concern to a $1 price point. But you don't have to quit sardines, you just have to use a better filter. If you want the benefits without the toxins, look for brands like Matiz Fishwife or Ramon Pena. These brands source from Spain, Portugal, or France, where environmental standards are ironclad and third-party testing is often published. When choosing, follow the rule of three. The ingredients should only be sardines, extra virgin olive oil, and salt. Avoid flavored varieties with added sugars or smoke flavor additives, as these are often used to mask inferior fish. Always look for the BPA-free label on the can, and prioritize sardines with skin and bones still attached for the maximum calcium benefit. Finally, look for third-party certifications like MSC or independent purity seals on the company's website. When you open a tin, the oil should be clear and the fish should be whole and intact, not a mangled pile of flesh. Today, we've unmasked the reality behind the labels. We've seen how companies use wild caught as a shield while ignoring cadmium and PCB levels. Knowledge is your only real protection in a market that prioritizes profit over purity. Before your next trip to the store, I have a mission for you. Go to your pantry, pull out every tin of fish, and check the sourcing and ingredients. If it's from a high pollution zone or contains soybean oil and sugar, consider it a warning sign. Which brand have you been buying? Tell me in the comments. I want to know if you've noticed these quality issues yourself. If this investigation opened your eyes, hit the subscribe button and share this with someone who thinks they're being healthy by buying the cheapest can on the shelf. We expose what they hide. Stay sharp, read the labels, and remember, if the price seems too good to be true, your body is the one paying the difference. Disclaimer: this content is for informational and educational purposes only. The findings presented are based on available testing data, independent reports, and industry analysis. We do not make absolute medical claims. Always consult with a healthcare professional regarding your diet, especially concerning heavy metal exposure in pregnancy. The brands mentioned are identified based on documented concerns. Individual batches may vary. Use this information to make your own informed purchasing decisions.